Just a few miles from the Pacific, in North San Diego County, lies a Spanish colonial haven, a gift of the Franciscan friars of the late 1700s. Mission San Luis Rey has been called a Camelot, in the midst of one of California's most vital growing regions. But the mission's quiet exterior conceals an active parish life.
Just an enormous amount of activity and bodies who come in here with the senior citizens, with the lunch program, with the club, with the classes from Miracosta College. You know, it's just goes on and on. The needs of the addicted. We have the alcoholic and the Gamblers Anonymous. We have the bereavement programs. So there's just a tremendous amount that is offered by my staff. You know, I just sit by and watch it go on.
Many activities at the mission are geared toward the poor. The parish participates in SHARE, a self-help food distribution program based in San Diego. Groceries are offered each month in exchange for a small contribution in money or volunteer time. The St. Vincent de Paul Society, which has an outlet at the mission, offers inexpensive clothes at a monthly rummage sale. Low-income Hispanics who work on neighboring farms are among those served by the mission programs.
They go to the mission, they hear the mission, and that's a refuge for them. They know we're not going to turn them away. We'll give them a sack lunch, we'll give them a blanket so they can cover themselves out in the fields.
Service to the needy takes many other forms. A legalization office helps undocumented workers to normalize their status as U.S. residents. Many who come for assistance are natives of Mexico.
They are the most that come here. However, they come from Central America, El Salvador, from Guatemala, from Nicaragua, from South America, from Argentina, from Chile, from Brazil, from everywhere South America. Sometimes they come from Africa here too, from England, from France, from Germany.
But for Hispanics in particular, the mission is a symbol whose cultural roots run deep.
They do have a bind with the church, whether they go or not, but it's still the Catholic Church, and they trust in the Padrecito that they will be guided properly and not be misguided and also ripped off with money. So the persons have their full trust in us. Therefore, we have a tremendous responsibility towards the people to advise them properly.
Mission San Luis Rey is a gathering place for local community residents. Many of them are seniors. Some come to play bingo or partake of the daily hot lunch, which is served at a nominal cost. Most of the work at the mission is performed by volunteers, and many of them are seniors. Edward and Mary Chalmers make bag lunches for the hungry.
Well, we come down here once a week, and more than that if we're called upon an emergency case where other volunteers cannot turn up to work. And we make about 120 sandwiches at a time, which is about 60 sack lunches. And they consist of peanut butter and jelly and meat sandwiches and a cookie or donut per sack. That's kind of, well, we are retired, and this gives us a good occasion to do something and enjoy it at the same time.
Another local resident with a history of helping others volunteers at the mission several days each month.
Yeah, I've never wanted to stay home. I've enjoyed volunteering all my life. I come from a generation where you were at home and you did a lot of volunteering because at that time it was the only way you made things work.
In another part of the mission, seniors meet for conversation, coffee, and game of cards.
I go to church here on Sunday, but I'm not a Catholic. It doesn't matter. And You get a sense of pride in being affiliated with this organization. We do good for many people, I know.
Mission San Luis Rey has programs for the very young as well. A Montessori school serves 150 children aged 2 to 12. The school's director says the Montessori philosophy of providing an environment in which youngsters naturally blossom is similar to the philosophy of the mission.
The Franciscan mentality of reaching out to all to serve all, I think, just blends perfectly with Montessori. Maria Montessori was there working with the poorest of the poor when she began her educational background, her world, and it has never changed. We offer all things to all children.
The ethic of service at Mission San Luis Rey has its roots in the work of a humble monk, St. Francis of Assisi. Part of his story is told in a stained glass window in the chapel. It portrays the crucifix of the Church of San Damiano. Before it, St. Francis began to perceive his future mission.
Franciscans believe early in his conversion, he was praying before this crucifix in Assisi, and it spoke to him and said, "Francis, go repair my church, which you see is falling to ruin." He took that literally and began to gather rocks and mortar in order to rebuild that church. As he was doing this in the city of Assisi, he gathered followers. So he ended up with 12 followers. He went to Rome, and with just an accumulation of gospel texts, he wrote his first rule and asked for approval.
He was initially unsuccessful. He was not able to see the Pope. But the Pope had a dream as well, that one small man was able to prop up the church whose structure was sagging. He recognized the man in his dream as Francis. The Franciscan rule was soon approved, and the new religious order was established. The spirit of Francis was carried on in later times in California's Spanish missions. The first were established by Father Junipero Serra, and the later missions by Father Antonio Perry. Mission San Luis Rey was the 18th to be established. It is the second heading northward through the chain. The missions maintained a tradition of hospitality, welcoming neighbors and strangers alike. They were the center of spiritual life for Spanish settlers and native converts. The missions were secularized by Mexico in 1837. President Lincoln later returned Mission San Luis Rey to the church. In the 1960s and 70s, the mission expanded its scope, embracing a host of social concerns under the leadership of Father Martin McEwen. The missionary spirit that first animated this parish is more active today than ever, but it has a broad focus. Mission San Luis Rey serves the entire community, not just Catholics.
It's a mission, it's a solace, it's a place of acceptance for anybody. And our concern is, what is your need, and can we answer it, Now, if that's a spiritual need that is in a sense of Catholic, we can do that. But if your need is spiritual and not Catholic, that you aren't turned off by this. But we have a Methodist community that has grown here with our protection and our support. We have an Orthodox church that meets here monthly. People are here not because they believe as we believe, but because we accept them where they are.
For those who need emotional help, the mission offers support through the Touchstone Counseling Program. 10 counselors offer their services, but their orientation is special.
I think the treatment philosophy that's unique to Touchstone is that we believe in the evaluation process that the spiritual belief system also needs to be evaluated. We need to find out if there is one. Of course, we evaluate the psychological functioning, the emotional functioning, and the physical functioning, but we also evaluate the spiritual functioning and just find out if there is one. People generally get through depression better if they have some kind of belief system, even if it's that we're here to learn something and they can learn from this experience. Just some kind of philosophical or spiritual orientation. We look at that. And we also, all of our staff members believe in God themselves, so they're comfortable with any kind of exploration of spiritual beliefs on the part of our clients.
Mission San Luis Rey offers a haven to youngsters from troubled backgrounds. The mission is home to Casa de Amparo, a private nonprofit treatment center for abused children and teens. Most will later move on to foster care or group homes for abused youngsters, but they are here at a critical time. Most are wards of the court and have suffered abuse in their homes.
Abuse comes in many disguises, but you can say there's something common to every form of abuse, and that is emotional abuse. All of our children, however, suffer from a much more insidious or pervasive abuse, and that's the physical and sexual abuse that these children have been subjected to for an extended period of time, some of them. That's why we have 3 licensed therapists on staff and a consulting psychiatrist. We provide them with a range of services designed to try to help stabilize them in their period of crisis, if they are in crisis, and to make it possible for them to succeed in their next placement, hopefully a more permanent placement.
Other young people also find a haven at the mission. For local Hispanic youngsters, most of whom come from Catholic backgrounds, the mission offers the challenge of finding meaning in their faith.
Within their group, they still wear a crucifix, they wear images of Our Lady of Guadalupe either on t-shirts, some even have them have the image painted on their car. And that's the moment where the church can touch them, challenge them. You know, hey, you have this crucifix on. This is important. If not, you wouldn't be wearing it. What is the message?
The challenge to live out the Christian faith is issued to adults as well. Agnes McKnight and her husband Joe direct educational programs at the mission. They work together, Agnes says, as a team.
Joe and I feel very comfortable that that's what we offer people. We do classes together, but we approach it very differently. That's a way of saying to people that the feminine, masculine side has a place in this church. And working together, that gives people a view that men and women can work together and both be intelligent and passionate about their work. And that's how I think we witness as a couple here. It's very good for me to work with Joseph, but he doesn't oppress me, and hopefully I do the same for him.
The church has changed, says Agnes McKnight, and religious education has changed along with it. Many mission classes focus on literature or film. They are not lectures but discussions, with give and take and mutual sharing. Joe McKnight says the tone of the classes is set by a shift in the larger church. It happened some 25 years ago with the Second Vatican Council.
Major change that has taken place is the change that up through the historical development of the church from the time of 380 AD, when the church said, you know, this is it, and the Christianity is the only religion, up till Vatican II, we were very much institutional, hierarchical church, a church which said it was a perfect society. With Vatican II, Pope John the 23rd comes out and says, we are an imperfect society. Immediate implications are ecumenism, ecumenical movement that says the Buddhist, the Hindu, the Lutheran Christian community, the Methodist Christian community, the Catholic Christian community, a whole ecumenical movement that says we're brothers and sisters in this world. It's our world to reach out and love and serve one another.
That message lies at the heart of the parish programs. It ties together the mission's diverse activities.
The doors are completely open, no matter who you are, how you're dressed, what nationality you're from. You're welcomed, and we greet you. Many times I meet people in the hallways and they're just wandering and just said, well, we saw a lot of cards out there and we wanted to know what this building was. And I'll take the 2-3 minutes to show them. I'll give them a brochure, and they're really impressed.
At Mission San Luis Rey, the vision of St. Francis remains alive. More important, says Carmen Parra, it is realized through action.
Well, we're doing God's work, and that's what St. Francis did. You know, help the needy. You know, take off your coat and you give it to the people. You know, if he's cold, hey, you take off your coat and give it to the one that it's in need. And I think that's what it's all involved. The Franciscans, the church, God's word, doing all his work. At least we're trying.
Mission San Luis Rey is no longer an isolated haven. It lies in the heart of a bustling and changing community.
We've had a great influx of the Hispanics to the area. We've had As a result of the military and the marine activity, we've had a great influx of the Samoans and the Hawaiians, also the Filipino community, and there's now a rather large segment developing of the Vietnamese. So our parish has changed dramatically, and we need to think in terms of meeting the needs of those people.
Changes in the community call for expanded mission facilities. The historic church and modern chapel will remain in use in the future, but an added structure will meet the needs of the modern mission parish.
We have a very beautiful daily mass chapel where our congregation now has an opportunity to gather. But what we lack is an assembly for all of them at one time. Not necessarily we're going to get 3,000 families in one place, but at least to eliminate so many of the masses that we now have, so that we can have our community more concentrated and bring them to 3 or 4 or possibly 5 liturgies on a weekend rather than 11 or 12 or 13. And by bringing the people closer together in one place that is really geared for the new liturgy, we have an opportunity of celebrating what the church is trying to do, with the gathering of the people and the involvement and the participation of the laity in so many different ways.
In May and June of 1991, the worldwide Franciscan community will hold a meeting at the mission. It will be the largest Franciscan meeting in 700 years. Among the agenda items will be future plans for the mission and the future of the Franciscan order in the 21st century. One theme unites this diversified historic mission parish. Behind its many programs is a community. It is composed of sisters and friars, of clergy and laity, and of the women and men and children who come here to worship. It is comprised of people of different faiths who come to share and celebrate, who come for fellowship or come for assistance. For 2 centuries, Mission San Luis Rey has served its community. Its 3rd century offers the promise of even greater service.